Greg's back from the Concord Food Co-op. How are we this morning, Greg?
Oh, splendid, as always.
Oh,
Right?
splendid.
Sounded sincere.
Wow. Is the co-op with one of the jokes when we have the weather predictions of the storm of the century?
Yeah.
People go piling in to buy bread and milk at what you would think as regular grocery stores. Do you get that same spike?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And what was amazing, it wasn't really a storm,
Right.
but everybody decided they were taking the day off, and so what day was that? Wednesday? It was
Wednesday,
very
yeah.
quiet at the store. So everyone was prepared for a storm. They were taking their storm day regardless.
They come in, they clear out the tofu and the granola.
Well, that's it.
There we go.
You don't know how long you're going to be in the house.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I was just wondering because even though you're a traditional store, you have a different clientele, if you will.
Yep.
But they're still pushed by all the hype on the storm.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
It might
absolutely.
just be non-dairy milk
Oh,
that they're going for.
Is that it?
Yeah.
That's
Right.
the voice
And
of
gluten-free bread.
Vincent
to make
would
sure I
know.
have it in the house, right?
Vincent's back with us. How are you, man?
Good, I'm doing well.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Jim Readey. Jim,
Great as always.
I have a thing. Okay.
Yeah.
This is
Jim's
you.
bio.
Okay. You've been teaching yoga and meditation for the past 75 years.
give or take a few. Yeah.
Oh, it's a bio with a typo.
25 years. Former New Hampshire attorney, got smart, and Concord Food Co-op board member. His mission is to help individuals live their happiest, healthiest, and fullest lives possible. In addition to yoga, leads workshops and retreats in conscious communication, men's work, couples work, and, wait for it, mindful improv comedy. I like it. NHYogaCenter.com. What's men's work?
By the way, that's a former board member of the co-op. I'm no longer on the board.
Oh.
It's been a decade or two.
Still in you, though.
What?
It's still in you.
Now you bail out?
Yeah.
Vote him
Just when
back
you
in.
start knowing
Vote him
stuff?
back
I don't know
in.
if it's in me, but I still have headaches. From,
Jim Readey for board member.
Yeah, there you go. What's
Whatever
what's
the
men's work?
What's men's work? Oh, great.
that's
It's
a
so
good question.
fortuitous that you have Vincent and me here to talk about men's work. Men need a lot of work, Peter.
Yeah.
I get that.
So
And
true.
It's what we refer to as maybe personal growth. It's just something that's been going on in this country for at least, I'm going to say 40 years actively, since about the early 70s.
Yeah.
Do I have the math right? Maybe that's 50 years. But we've started to have this awareness that men have not been taking care of their personal needs. We're talking about physical health, mental health, emotional health.
Yeah.
All of that. So Robert Bly is kind of part of that men's movement. I mean, what does he consider the grandfather of the modern men's movement? So I don't know if that's a good start for you.
But
is this new to you? This concept?
I've heard the concept.
Yeah.
But it all starts with guys have to admit that there's a problem.
Yeah.
That's the tough
Or
part.
not even necessarily that there's a problem.
Or there's an
but
issue, or they want
I
to
would
grow,
say-
or whatever.
I would
They have
say
to- that acknowledgement
yes,
has
the
to start with
desire
them.
to want to be better,
Right,
I would
right.
say, is
Yeah.
the first indicator.
Yeah.
And then once that happens, which I think most people, if they really look at themselves, they can acknowledge that there's
Yeah,
ways
but that's
to
a hard
improve
thing,
their
Vincent.
lives. Yeah.
You know, you take some people listening, driving right now. I'm all that. I'm okay,
I'm
man.
okay. I'm fine.
I don't
I'm
need
good.
work, but they do.
Yeah.
You know, I heard this once. There's an ashram down in Lenox, Massachusetts, and one of the guys that was there, he was a psychologist who decided to give up his practice and go and live there for a while, a yoga ashram. And he noticed after a while that there was a turnover of young people coming and going. And he asked one of the older residents, he said, what's the deal with that? Why are the older folks kind of staying around in this ashram for years, but the others are coming and going? And the older guy said to him, he said something like, disappointment is a greater motivator than idealism. Meaning when you're older, I'm coming around to what my point is.
Right.
When you're older, you've seen more things, you've had more experiences, you had more failures, more disappointments.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that leads men or
Yeah,
people in
I
general
think so
to the
too.
personal growth work.
And I also think it's really telling that you said that, you know, you used two descriptors. I'm fine and I'm okay.
And I'm good.
Which is interesting to me, rather than people acknowledging that maybe they're not great and we could be greater.
Yeah.
And so to me, I'd rather live a great life a mindfully lived life than a life that's just mediocre or okay or fine.
Because you're thinking about it. I think a lot of guys kind of march through life.
That's right.
You know, life is coming at me. I will handle everything that comes at
That's
me
right.
quietly, without emotion.
Yes.
I'll make the decisions I need to make. I'm not going to consider me in all of this. And they don't.
Yeah, and usually what happens, it's some kind of traumatic event that is usually a trigger, whether it be a divorce or substance abuse,
a death in the
death
family
in the
or
family.
something going,
And
oh my God,
awareness
I
of
got to
your
think
own
about this.
Job loss.
Job loss.
Yeah.
Awareness of your own mortality, I think, is a really good thing to put people.
Yeah, but see,
into
there are two
perspective.
scales at work here.
Yeah.
Okay. There's your grading scale.
Yeah.
About being a guy, emotional health, blah blah blah. Then there's society's scale.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm catching up. Got to take care of the wife and the kids, the job, money. I need the car. Want the second home. But boom, but all the material. Boom, 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 boom. The machinations that go with keeping all that.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't have time for the second scale.
You
Right.
believe you don't.
You don't.
Right,
yeah,
right,
that's
I know.
You probably do, but you don't acknowledge
you
that
don't,
you do. Right.
because I have to fill that time with
Yeah.
work. I have to check my email. We got to do the family vacation. Okay. So there's that thing where they're not looking at themselves.
Right.
They
Yeah,
don't
that's
have
right.
the time
That's right.
to just go up in the
but
woods
what's
or
the
hang.
looking at? What do you actually do? I mean, you're talking about, you have a workshop or whatever. What do you do?
Yeah.
Stare at our navels. Navel gazing. It's called
Pound
navel
Tommy
gazing.
Thomas.
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, it varies, right? When we're doing a men's yoga workshop, the intention obviously is to facilitate a yoga practice, meaning that we're gonna engage our bodies. We're going to gain some level of awareness of maybe aspects of ourselves where we're lacking.
Physical yoga
postures, then meditation practice, breath awareness, and then usually we'll end with some kind of conscious communication exercise. Usually it's something with a sharing circle, similar to, people have been doing, for thousands of years, sitting in circle and sharing
which
of themselves.
helps to get us into the present moment. Like what are you feeling right now, Greg? What might be the question. What's going on for you right now? How did that practice land with you? What's still resonating for you from that practice?
And I think it's the idea of sitting with truth and authenticity, which men do a lot if they're in like the bar room, or
Right, that's
if,
funny.
if they have some kind of lubrication, some kind of thing that lowers the
Alcohol
inhibition.
helps.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and so that's why, and it's really
liquid
telling.
courage.
It's really telling to me as a person in long-term recovery. It's really telling to me that men feel most comfortable when they are inebriated, and that's when the feelings start coming up to the surface. I mean, how often do we see in
I
television?
love you, man.
Yeah, in movies, right?
Yeah,
We're
right.
really able to share of ourselves.
Yep.
So let's try to. Maybe we can do that without.
We are not drinking
the
together.
alcohol.
I'm telling you right now.
But I
you were
fully
too good at
understand
that.
that.
Yeah.
I,
Nailed it.
I fully understand that.
Yeah.
And I fully understand how you've got to start a workshop taking people out of their present
Yes.
lives
Yeah.
to kind of relax a little bit before
Yeah.
they can actually be in the present.
Yeah, but
That's
see,
right.
I'm a self-contained unit. Okay, I'm.
You're good. I'm fine.
No,
I'm fine.
No
I'm
man
good.
is an island.
I'm a self-contained unit. I'm fine. To sit down with you guys and do this touchy-feely, talky, that's threatening.
All right, so that was
scary.
my next question.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
Okay, what do you do? What's your suggestions for pre-workshop to get someone to maybe develop to the point they could go to a workshop?
Besides
Because-
drinking.
Yeah, because is there any guidance, advice, or anything? Is the baby steps before someone's going to walk in and have a sharing circle? I think the vast majority of men.
Is that what it's called?
I don't know what it's.
Oh,
I think
okay.
that's what you
You
call
could
it.
call
In,
it a
in
sharing.
Native
Okay.
American tradition, they call it a talking stick circle, where they literally pass a stick around like a
Okay.
primitive microphone.
Yeah, so you understand the question, right? What do you
Yeah.
do? What do you do
Yeah.
to psychologically get yourself prepped to even do that?
Well, we go on the radio. We go on the radio and we talk about it first.
We get people thinking
one.
that's first.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think it's one of the best things for me was to look at why I had resistance to doing certain things. And I understand that you're trying to say, you're both saying that it takes a certain type of individual maybe to bring themselves to that certain level of awareness initially. Right. I understand. Awareness is the first step. But looking at your life, and I think in seeing how there can be improvement points, and I think everyone can acknowledge that their lives could be better in some way, whether it be communications with their partner, or maybe they want to make more money. These are all things that I think living a more mindful life can bring you. So I think that there can be a goal. It can be goal oriented, but once you start getting involved in the process, then the process becomes more important
See
than the
what
goal.
I'm concerned about. If you and I'm sorry, Jim.
No, go ahead.
I had.
Share how you're feeling, Peter.
Well,
with
no.
us.
We're getting there, you guys.
No,
We're getting there.
My
This is an
emotion's not in
intervention, and
this.
he doesn't realize
This
it.
is an observation. I had a deck built on the house.
Yeah.
Okay, and it was attached to the house. And okay, just take the clapboards off, and boom, we're putting that on. Took the clapboards off. Oh, there was rot. Okay, now we've got to replace the clapboards.
Yeah, this is a great metaphor.
Then all of a sudden, we have to take the wood off because there was mold, because that corner of the house never got... So we kept going deeper. All I wanted to do was nail the boards on so I could put the deck up.
Yeah.
But the easier I wanted it, the harder it was.
Yeah.
The more time it took.
Yeah.
And I'm throwing my hands up going, oh, come on, man. Eventually, we did it. Took it apart piece by piece. Got a deck that's going to stand up long after I'm gone. Yay. But it's one of those, you start, and then there's another thing, and another thing.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden I found out my life is a train wreck. I don't know if I want to see that.
All right, there's the good. That's Here's another metaphor. What if in your car, because you didn't like the news, the bad news that you were low on oil or low on gas, you covered up those instruments.
I've done that
with duct tape.
Yeah. When I have check engine light,
Check engine, service engine. Yeah.
So how does that work out for you? I mean, that's the ultimate question. How does it work out?
out?
New truck. There you go.
It's not going to be new for long.
I know.
Hey,
But you're right. You're right. Denial, and we've always kidded. If you have noises in your car and you don't know what they are and you can't afford it, turn up the radio.
Yeah.
I can't hear the
That's it,
noises.
yeah.
Ergo, I don't have a problem.
And I think that there can be that digging deeper, and that could happen for a lifetime. But it depends on when you start, and
True.
it depends on what you've experienced in your life. Some people come in, and I think we've had a lot of men in our classes, in our workshops, in our retreats, where they're like just there, like they're really like there's just some things they need to work through and discuss with other men and feel comfortable in themselves, and then after that they're good. It doesn't take that sort of extreme delving into.
Right,
that
so-
can
so-
be for some individuals.
Do men and women speak the same language?
No.
Okay,
No.
that's why, because I'm hearing you say,
Yeah.
men talking to men. Okay, now that the guys got this,
Yeah.
can I speak the same language so a woman understands
I
that?
don't think.
Yes.
I think we can speak the same language. I think the experiences are different, and I think that's
Right.
where it leads to some. It's like the same. It's
Feel
the
free
same
to
language,
jump in.
different dialect.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Maybe that's a good way to
Absolutely.
describe it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, can we get back to Greg's question? How
Yeah,
do you
that's a good
prepare
idea.
someone for
Yes.
a workshop, like a 3-hour workshop, for example? One of the ways we do it is to invite them to come to a yoga class.
Yeah.
So a class is going to be of a shorter duration. And so
Right.
that's one way to sort of titrate the experience for them. Believe it or not, one of the ways that we get men to come to class is to talk to women, to talk to their men, to talk to their boyfriends, their husbands, because a lot of men, I believe, do not feel like they have permission to do something like this. It's out of the ordinary. It's not manly.
Right.
To take 3 hours for myself, self-care. We don't
Yeah.
talk about self-care.
I know.
That's not part of our vernacular. Women say self-care. So how do you get a man to do it? Well, first of all, if the woman says, "Hey, I think this might be good for you," they'll say, "Really? You think I would get something out of this?" And it's this slow process of saying, I actually deserve this, and I want to do it. One of our catchphrases is that the world needs a man's heart. The world needs a man's heart, and we're just slowly trying to get men to actually accept that your heart is welcome in the world, not just your intellect, not just your brawn, but all of you. And women are a good, what would you call it? A nice vehicle to or to transmit that message.
Sure.
Like, honey,
Absolutely.
We've got hold that thought.
Yeah.
because we got to come back.
Yeah.
We've got to take a break. We'll be back with more Concord Food Co-op right after this. And I am okay.
So my question is, do men feel more comfortable confiding with women or men? I mean, you're basically saying, I was surprised to hear you say that men are, they like talking about certain things with men or whatever. It seems most of the time that, they don't think a man is going to be able to be empathetic at all and responsive, and so they just go talk to a women somewhere.
I mean,
Go ahead.
yeah, I think. I mean, I personally think that men feel more comfortable in the presence of other men, and I've seen that happen through things that I've attended and things that I've led. And I think simply because you can probably relate to an experience that I've had more specifically than a woman can. And
Right.
again, I don't think it's different languages. I think it's just a different dialect. But I think the internal experience of a man speaking to another man about an experience they had, especially an experience of difficulty, I think it's easier to relate to And something is really beautiful that's born out of that. And I've had that in my friendship with Jim, where we can sit and talk about something. He's nodding at me right now, and we can have a discussion about things that we've experienced in our lives. And I feel like I don't have to go into great detail to explain myself because he's been there.
Right. And there's a certain rhythm between and among men that you wouldn't have in a co-ed group or with women. And it's a respect that we have for each other's rhythms and style that makes it easier to share. Like I've once heard that men speak in paragraphs, whereas women speak in sentences, and sometimes they'll complete each other's sentences. But we give each other space to speak for an entire paragraph. And if we're talking with women, the women have that different dialect or that different style, and they'll jump in. They think that they're supporting what we're sharing, and we think, you're interrupting me.
I haven't finished
I haven't even gotten to the heart of what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
It takes us a little while to get to the deeper stuff and to get to the mold under your clapboards and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
See, I would think part of it depends on the audience that you're talking with. Because if you're talking to a guy that thinks he's okay, doesn't have a problem, and you're sitting there trying to open up and be vulnerable, he's going, what's your problem? Suck it up, Sally. Come on.
Right.
So now I've made an effort. I have put myself out there. You have shot me down. I'm retreating like there's no tomorrow.
Sure.
Right.
And so now it's defeated the whole purpose, and I'm back
that's
to
right.
below square one.
That's right.
So we go ahead, Vince.
That's why we don't.
No, I'm Peter.
Yeah.
That's Vincent. Yeah,
Good Lord.
it's okay.
It's the
We're all the
75
same,
years
really.
of teaching yoga that's starting to wear on him. That's
He's got hair.
You're all just mold underneath the surface. I see you as the same.
And that's why I think
You're not going to let that go, are you?
no. I think that's why it's important to not force or be forceful. And so when we guide classes, there's an opportunity, an invitation to express yourself. You don't have to do it,
Right.
Because some people just aren't ready. They don't feel comfortable with that, and that's totally fine. If you've ever done any kind of counseling work, you'll see that oftentimes it's just the counselor sitting there being ready to receive what you're offering. And if you're not ready to open up in that way,
it doesn't mean the pitch is coming. That's
Yeah.
right. It doesn't mean it's coming that time.
And then, like I was just saying to Jim before we took a break, it doesn't have to be. See, we're talking about the deepness right now.
Right.
It doesn't have to be this deep. You can stay on the surface of things, and it can be more superficial, especially when it comes to a yoga practice. You can go and just be like, I really like coming and stretching. That's awesome.
Right.
Great. Come and do that. If that's where you're at and that's what you feel comfortable doing, that's amazing.
See, and I know I have not been. So I equate it to like an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. No. When they stand up and go, "Hey, I'm Jim.
Sure.
I'm an alcoholic."
Sure.
They put it out there.
could use your
make
name.
That, Make that acknowledgement. No, I'm using your name, man. And then tell their story.
Yes.
Because you were in a like community at that point.
And
they've all been there.
Yes.
They've all acknowledged. Easier to come forward.
Yes.
Because as you said,
And-
similar experiences. There's a relate.
And it can be like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
right. Once you get mindful, once you stretch out a little bit, once you relax, take yourself out of your everyday and put yourself in a different position, you may feel differently.
Yeah.
And there is no pressure to share.
Yeah.
You can sit in silence at the end of the workshop, and we'll be processing. And if you were sitting there and being really silent, I would say, Peter, is there anything that you might want to share? It's something that came up for you during the workshop? And you might say, no, actually, I'm feeling pretty good. And we would leave it. We'd say, that's fine.
Okay. I like
But
that.
if you said...
So you're not doing the timeshare thing and pushing me.
No, not at all.
Okay.
But if you jumped in and you said, what was that? You said, what's wrong with you, Sally? Did you say something
Suck
like
it up, Sally.
Suck it up, Sally. I'd say, so what's going on
Sure.
for you, Peter?
Out of everything I said, that's what you glom
I'd say,
onto.
no,
Nice job, Jim.
Well, it's the first time you expressed emotion in front of us, so what's going on for you now?
There we go. We saw a red flag in that whole
great.
Sally comment.
But I
Yeah.
wouldn't do it. We wouldn't do it in an aggressive way. But is something on?
I'm in a shame spiral now.
So describe a class or something, like a typical cost of a class. I mean, I think a lot of individuals don't even know, and we've got very little time left. So just quickly, what's it, if somebody wanted to participate, how would they do it? Or?
Typical yoga class. At my studio, you can come in, you can sign up for one class, you can sign up for a 10. It might be an average of $12 a class, something like that for a series. Is that 5 seconds or 5 minutes?
Yeah, we got to run. Jim, Vincent, Greg, as
Great
always,
talking with
thanks,
you.
man.